I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Glenn, you want to give us a briefing on Bulky Waste Day since you did it this past week?
Sure, I can. So Saturday before, we had our Bulky Waste Day. It went pretty well. Compliments to Dave and his staff. I think they did a fine job. We had a continuous people coming in throughout the day, steady, right up to about 12:30, and it kind of died down and kind of pretty much stopped around 12:30 or so. We had, I think, about 75 people come through, which was pretty good. And no one really had to wait too long. I think that at the most we made like 3 cars at one time, 3 or 4 cars deep, but it was just a steady pace all day. A couple things we'll have to look at for next year, just in regards to a couple of things on the list. What Dave said is difficult to get rid of, and that is propane tanks and fluorescent lights. So they're difficult to get to for them to dispose of them. So something we'll have to take a look at for next year because they were on the list and some people brought them. So.
Can you revise the list and cross them off and give it to Kathy, and then she'll take them off for next year?
Yeah, I think we could look at when it comes up. I think it's the whole list to be looked at again, and maybe
Something else might come up.
something else, right? Should be looking at it and maybe change a little bit as far as too is maybe we can think about making it like a duplicate sheet so the resident gets a copy of it as well. Would be helpful to kind of get like a receipt of what they gave and stuff like that. So we can look at that, but it was a good day. Like I said, it was steady. People were very polite. We had no issues. Again, Dave's crew did a great job filling the dumpsters, making sure we had enough room. So it went well.
You had to use the dump trucks and as well as the dumpsters?
No.
No overflow?
No,
Okay.
no, they packed the dumpsters pretty good. They had a game plan at the beginning of the morning, and they stuck to it. It worked out well.
Like I know last year when I did it, we packed all the dumpsters, plus we had to fill the dump trucks as well.
Yeah, no, went well.
Mhm.
They crushed a lot of it with the dozer.
Yeah,
That's about it.
okay. Got 2 minutes for you, Dave, before I bring him up. Okay, Dave Leonard from the Forage Pond Dam.
Right here.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening. Water on your way there.
I guess I'm here to update you on what's happening with Forge Pond and I guess Dufresne Pond as well. I guess the current thing that's active is the emergency action plan. That's been drafted, and I sent Chris a draft to take a look at, saying he's the emergency management director. As soon as he scrutinizes it and sees if there's any edits, we can get it finalized and sent off to the Office of Dam Safety and MEMA and your board as well. And then you'd be in compliance. The order that was issued was for there were 2 orders. One for the dam, one for the dike, but it's really one dam. I mean, I don't know why they have it broken up with two different numbers, but just because there's a knob of ledge in between the 2. So that's been taken care of. I guess under your own operation, the trees have been cut there, so that's I guess that's a plus. You can see the dam now and see what it looks like. The other thing that's I guess kind of still up in the air a little bit. The dam is due for what's called a phase 1 inspection, which is every 5 years there's a requirement that it should be done, And the 5 years it was actually up in April, and I think you received another order to basically perform that report. I guess I'm not sure. I sent a proposal into the Conservation Commission, and I haven't heard anything back from them yet as to whether to proceed or not to proceed. And I guess that can be done as soon as they, I guess, act on it. The other thing you're under is, I guess back 2 or 3 years ago, actually 4 years ago, the town was issued an order from the Office of Dam Safety because the dam is in poor condition to either fix it or take it down. And they wanted what they call a Phase 2 report, which is a very comprehensive preliminary design report that takes into account all kinds of design items ready in order to prepare for a design survey, borings, and alternatives analysis, and so on. And of course, that's probably, I forget what it's, $35,000-$40,000 study, so that's pretty expensive to take on. Part of that report, that order also required 6-month inspections, and I've been doing the 6-month inspections. One is due now, but it can, the Phase 1 report that's due can take the place of that 6-month, this particular 6-month inspection. If that basically no need to do two of them. Although the Phase 1 is a little bit more comprehensive, it's a little more in detail. I guess one of the big things that I guess you folks are in is to what to do with the dam, and unfortunately, without doing the Phase 2 that's required, you don't know how much it's going to cost, and you don't know what the alternatives are. So I guess, and of course, I'm not sure what the financing situation is. Obviously, that is a pretty expensive study. I sent a note to Chris and to kind of get the ball rolling, I'm willing to do a limited preliminary design report basically at no cost, well, no cost at the present time, with maybe the provision that if you do a project down the road, that I'd be reimbursed for that, but not requiring that. So if if we get to a point where there's a project and you say, yeah, the heck with him, I'm at risk. So, but that will give you alternatives and cost estimates so that you'll know what direction you could go in and either get support one way or the other to it. So I think that would be something you need to do, and I'm offering it as as something to help you get going on the project. I sent the scope to Chris, which it is mostly, it's all my time. It doesn't include survey and borings and things of that sort, but I can develop something enough to give you conceptual designs for improvements, including a removal alternative and cost estimates for the various alternatives that are there.
So your cost estimates would include either repairing it or removing it?
That's correct. That's correct. Yep. Give you both options. I would probably have 2 or 3 conceptual designs for repair, and then the removal alternative as far as the cost goes. Then you can see what the magnitude of the dollars are. Dam owners, when they get orders, they think they can just take a bulldozer and knock it down, but it's not really that easy because of the environmental situations and also hydraulic issues. You take the dam out, you don't have a pond anymore, stormwater zips through, so you may have to make bigger culverts downstream and so on as part of that project as well. So that there's a little bit more to it than just knocking the thing down.
The water's gonna go somewhere.
That's right. The water has to go somewhere, and it's going to go a lot quicker when there's no pond there to accumulate. And then you have to take into consideration other things around the pond as to what may be the effects. But anyway, my offer's on the table for that, and I guess you have to decide whether not you want to do something with it.
How long would it take you to complete that report?
Right now, I'm thinking that probably March or April of next year. Right now, I'm pretty well bogged down with a lot of Phase 1 reports and emergency action plans. I took on doing what I'm doing after I retired from a consulting firm, and I guess I'm working too cheap because everybody wants something done.
That's really good.
So the emergency action plans, most of them are due by the end of this year, and most of them are going to get cleaned up. There's some stragglers that came in like yesterday, say, "Hey, I'm in trouble. Can I do it?" And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, but the state has been giving extensions of time for those that are the delinquents, reasonable times, and I guess I can help them out getting their requirements fulfilled."
So all we have to do is let Chris know for you to go ahead with your cost estimate for repair and/or removal.
Right.
Phase 2.
Yeah, for the phase 2. Yeah, right.
It's a limited phase 2. Like I say, it's going to. I didn't bring a copy of it with me, but it's going to include existing conditions. Look at alternatives. The repercussions of a removal and things of that sort. So it'll be a pretty comprehensive document. Less soil borings and things of that. And you do the soil borings and also the characterization of the soils or the sediment in the pond. And in this case, I don't think you're going to find anything that's going to be too bad in that pond other than muck. So I mean, you can take the chance to say you're not going to have to deal with hazardous waste unless there was something there that they did back in the 1800s that we don't know about. But that would be probably part of a preliminary design, the next step beyond a report or study.
I'm presuming we got to do an article to get the funding?
Question for you, Dave.
Yes, sir.
Would it be more beneficial to do the Phase 1 inspection before we have you start with a preliminary study? Or not?
Yeah, definitely, because it's late. Back a couple months ago, I did talk to the Office of Dam Safety, and I said, I said, they're working on clearing the trees. I says, it's more prudent to wait till after the trees are done. And they said, fine. But I think they did send you an order, didn't they, to do it? They gave you like February or November 4th or
That may
something.
have gone to the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, needs to be done. They're sitting and waiting for that. So that would be something
Well, with the tree work done,
Yeah.
let's schedule it and then.
And you had said to send my proposal on to the Conservation Commission, and I haven't heard anything back from them.
All right.
So that would be appropriate to do that. And the Dufresne Phase 1 will be done. You've executed the agreement for that, so I can do that anytime. But the Phase 1 should be done. Get that cleaned up. Get yourself into compliance with all that, and then we go ahead with the nuts and bolts for what do you do now kind of a thing.
Do I need an EAP for the Dufresne Dam?
No.
I was just curious.
Not yet anyway. Back in 2007, the Office of Dam Safety said all high hazard dams needed to do emergency action plans, and they did that. And it's always been in the wind that they're going to say do something for the significant hazard dams, and lo and behold, last year they are looking for something. Fortunately, they've come out with this template and also some basic guidelines so that it's not as extensive as an emergency action plan for a high hazard dam, because the high hazard dams, I mean, were $15,000-$20,000 exercises, which basically, I mean, every dam owner I've been dealing with say, hey, I want to put brick and mortar into my dam. I don't want a piece of paper that I put on a shelf and so they're making it a little bit easier, but the requirement to do a inundation mapping using a computer model is the worst part of it. Otherwise, it would be even cheaper than what we're doing it for. We're done with the model. We have the document put together, and Chris is looking at it. So these low hazard dams, they figure if they break, nobody's going to get hurt. maybe somebody's gonna get their ankles wet or something downstream. And the definition of a low hazard dam is in the event of a failure, there's minor property damage but no personal injury. Significant hazard dams have the provision of saying if it breaks, there is a potential loss of life plus property damage, and that's why they're looking for something a little bit more stringent. So that's kind of things in a nutshell.
And the phase 1 inspection will take care of the 6-month inspection. that's
That'll
due.
take care of the 6 months inspection that's due under the phase 2 order that they gave you.
I think it's in December. I read it before for both dams. I believe, I want to say December the 5th, but I'd have to look it up here.
I think it was December 4th or 5th, and
Yeah.
with the report required by January 4th or something.
Something like that.
They're pretty lenient as long as somebody's doing something. They recognize a lot of this is financial burden, and they want to help out those that are doing something. Those that are doing nothing, they're a little bit more aggressive too. So you want to avoid them from getting into that situation.
Any more questions from anybody else today?
No, none from me. That was very,
Yep, well, thank
Easy to
you
follow.
very much, Dave, and then we'll be proceeding with the Phase 1 reports, and
Does the board wish me to continue forward with Dave to try and get numbers together for the Phase 2 study?
yes, I do.
Comprehensive study,
You wanna make a
not
motion?
just a
You want a motion or direction?
direction.
Yeah, direction, yes.
so directed.
Thank you.
Very good.
We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Dave.
Next one I can take care of real quick.
You can take, okay.
Even though we're running late, we can do it. Basically, I have 2 appointments that I want the board to affirm tonight. The first one is for Donald Zabrowski to the Council on Aging Advisory Board. At the meeting of September 18th, the advisory board voted to forward Mr. Zabrowski's name for consideration for appointment to that board. So I would like to appoint Donald Zabrowski of Sherwood Drive, I don't have to say the number, Sherwood Drive, Granby, Mass, to be appointed to the Council on Aging Advisory Board through June 30th of 2020.
Okay, you have a motion?
All right, I will make a motion to appoint Mr. Donald Zabrowski to the Council on Aging Advisory Board. His appointment valid through June 30th, 2020.
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion on this appointment? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes, it's unanimous.
And then the next one I have is a request from the Granby Cultural Council. They're asking that we appoint a Melissa Rickson of 133 South Street, Granby, Mass. Oh, okay.
Come on up.
Sorry for crashing your.
Oh, you're not crashing, no problem at all. Want another chair?
That's okay.
You want to just introduce yourselves?
So I'm Elizabeth Laguerre. I'm the treasurer for the Granby Cultural Council, and this is Melissa.
Hi.
This is my son, Jason.
Hello, Jason. Now Jason's on TV.
Yeah, first time. He's like, I love your preschool. Thank you.
I don't think so. Not the way he's looking. So I don't know if the board has any questions of Melissa or Elizabeth?
Do you have anything you want to give us, or?
No, we're trying to grow our council. We're trying to become more known in the town. We're going to be creating a survey monkey, to kind of identify what the town's looking for. the majority of what we've supported in town previously has been a lot of concerts, which is great, but we want to kind of widen the variety of stuff. Like last year, we had an edible trail through the Red Fire Farm, which was really cool. And then we helped support the Star Wars Symphonium, I think, at the library. So we're trying to, I mean, we all love music, but we want a variety for Granby residents, and we want to hear from them. So we're going to be putting.
Have you gotten any grants or anything?
So we get grants every year,
Okay.
and then our application process is actually open right now. We put a memo in all the department mailboxes today to remind everybody that the application process is still available till October 15th. So people can apply, and then we will be voting in November.
Do you get them off of mass.gov, or they're just annual ones that you know of?
They're just annual ones. They open up September 1st, right?
Yeah, I think if you look at mass.gov, they've had some more cultural and arts, if you just browse through there.
I'm trying to push it on Facebook too.
I'm just saying for grants. Just
Yeah.
look at grants.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to get more people like interested in Granby.
Oh.
And then I want to get bigger. Like we've seen at Belchertown, they've had like food truck festivals and
Yeah.
sip and paints. And we'd like to bring more of that stuff to Granby. We're just trying to figure out what Granby people want.
Yeah, but a lot of those are paid for with grants.
Oh, yeah.
So
Listen,
mass.gov.
people want
you get
it,
some-
I will definitely do it.
How many people on the council right now?
Active?
I guess active, yeah.
I believe there's 7.
7? What is your ultimate goal to get to? You want a
I'd
certain
like to get to
number?
15, because not everybody can attend all the meetings.
Right.
And my husband's a part of the council, but he's still in a nursing home right now, recovering still. So, you know, we'd like to have enough people and a lot of different fresh ideas and different variety of
Okay.
people. Yeah,
Sounds good.
yeah, we're trying. Yeah,
Well, I appreciate it
Yeah.
very much.
thanks.
You have anything?
No, I'm listening.
Okay.
I like what they do.
I didn't say I didn't like what
I
they
didn't say
did.
you didn't.
Do I have a motion to appoint the person?
I will make the motion to appoint Melissa Rickson to the Granby Cultural Council.
So I'm going to do it through June of 2020, then we'll renew
Okay.
at that point.
Through June 30th of 2020.
I'm going to second the motion. That's what I'm going to do.
You want to call that your second?
That is my second.
Okay, okay. Any more discussion on the appointment to the Cultural Council? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes, unanimous. Thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing you.
Appreciate it. You're
Thanks.
coming aboard too.
Hope your husband's doing better.
Big steps. But thank you.
So-
Right now you have Jim
Jim,
Mazik.
yeah,
Mazik from
Jim
the
Mazik.
Pioneer Valley Planning Commission.
Yeah,
How you doing, Jim? Good, how are you? Good. Once a year visit to us.
Been a couple of years. I've been before the board, but just not this board. And then before the board at the Old Town Hall and at this building, so for,
I think I see you more often than your office than I do here.
you're correct on that. So I had sent an email to Chris, to see if the town would be interested in looking at applying for CDBG funds, CDF funds through Mass DACD this upcoming fiscal year. For the
You want to
for the FY20 applications. So, we work with municipalities throughout Western Mass, actually even Central Mass, on applying for these funds on an annual basis. It's an 18-month program. It goes to the Massachusetts Department of Housing and Community Development. And they're money from HUD, the Community Development Block Grant Funds, and a variety of activities. Last year, actually, we were very successful. We wrote 10 applications for roughly $10 million, and all of them got funded. It was about 1/3 of the funding statewide, competitive funding. So we're right now in a process of, we work with some communities on a regular basis. They have strong needs, your Ware, your Warrens, your Hill Towns. But the communities that we haven't worked with in a while or tried to get funds in the past, we're outreaching out to those, see if they'd be interested in applying, having us work with them to apply again for next year. So the funding deadline for next year is March 6th, 2020. There's a lot of prep work involved with those applications. We basically, my staff, we do all the work per se. and then we end up managing those programs if it's funded for the community. There are a variety of things which are eligible. In your case, there are limitations. You're not like a South Hadley Falls, where you've got a concentration of, low to moderate income homes, where we could do an infrastructure project, or we can, concentrate certain things. Or unlike when we have programs in the hill towns, we have a lot of social services we do, or we're in Warren, we have different neighborhoods we attack and do improvements. You really don't have that type of structure. So I know you have a private water district, you don't have, any wastewater treatment facilities, mostly septic, so.
Jim, tell us what we do have.
So you're not looking at streets, sidewalks, water, sewer, catch basins, drainage, because we couldn't qualify a street to do that. I'm presuming that, but based upon my knowledge of Granby. So in order to do these programs, you have to meet one of 3 national objectives. Back up for a second. You can apply for up to $800,000 in funds, or up to $1.35 million over a 2-year period. What the state is looking at, and they just issued their proposed changes for this upcoming year, is allowing communities to apply, possibly, I haven't approved this yet, up to $1.35 million, but then they would have to sit out a year and then reapply again the year after. So the same $1.35 million max would be over a 2-year period. So right now it's $800,000 until they make this approved change. So you have to meet one of 3 national objectives. The first one is meeting a critical community need. That is a very rare circumstances. I'll give you a couple quick examples. It basically has to be an event which is unforeseen, quote unquote active nature, so to speak, happened within the past 18 months. It has to be, a threat to public health and safety. So a couple of years back, as you recall, we had a number of unforeseen events. We had the tornado in 2011. We had that crazy Halloween storm with all the downed trees. We had, I forget which hurricane it was, and all the water damage from up in Vermont down into Franklin, up Hampshire and Upper Hampden. And DHCD, HUD allowed and DHCD put in place a disaster recovery program using CDBG funds, because those were unforeseen events. They caused different circumstances, and you allow CDBG funding to then address whatever those situations were, whether it be, rebuilding houses or rebuilding infrastructure. There was an example a number of years ago, I think it was Hurricane Hugo, and this goes way back, where there was saltwater intrusion into a neighborhood, which was really homes which wouldn't qualify because they were basically moderate to upper income, but all the private wells were contaminated. So they allow CDBG funds as critical community need to then put in, extend a water line to feed those homes and that sort of thing. You're not going to get it's got to be one of those events of that nature. So that really doesn't ever really get funded by a community applying by itself. We had actually a case in Warren which we thought they would serve that, and DHCD said no. The other is elimination or prevention of slum and blight. And there's 2 types of things. There's spot blight and there's area wide. Spot blight is if you would go in, and let's say you have a building which your building inspector or Board of Health have condemned. It's a threat to health and safety, and you basically want to eliminate that blighty condition. So on spot blight, you could basically take the building down. That's it. You can't do anything else. You can't do any improvements. If you do slum and blight under an area-wide, which we have designated the downtown Spencer area as the area-wide slum and blight. We have designated the downtown Ware area, which didn't go over well with a lot of the residents there, but the Board of Select were fine with it. As again, the definition of slum and blight. It's a hard definition. It doesn't mean it's a slum, but then we can do many activities throughout that whole area. You don't have the slum and blight in Granby. You would not meet that anywhere here. So the third is benefit to low to moderate income persons. And again, the definition moderate, household of 1 is an income that is less than $49,700. Household of 2 is $56,800. 3 is $63,900. 4 is $70,950. So again, you're not talking poverty, you're talking, really a moderate income. So the types of projects which typically would qualify in that: housing rehab to people who have issues where they need to correct code violations, could be other health and safety issues, failing septic systems, failing water systems, roof systems, electrical, plumbing upgrades, accessibility, barrier removal, that sort of thing. They have to fall within the income guidelines. Projects which the elderly are presumed to be low and moderate income. So I know you have your senior center over here, but if there are, I know we've done a lot of senior center expansion, senior center improvements, various things. So something which would benefit elders. And I want to get back, and then I want to get back to, in a few minutes, get back to that. And then projects which would then impact the disabled. So if you're going to, if you had I know you have a new library, let's say the library wasn't new. Years ago, we did a lot of barrier removal projects. We would actually make libraries handicap accessible, put in handicap accessible bathroom, handicap accessible parking. So those are projects which would be eligible under benefit to low mod income. On the housing rehab program, we started a program this past year in Agawam. And DHD has some new language where they're looking to allow this year as well. We did it, we called Aging in Place program. And we got DHD to authorize us to have up to a $5,000 grant program to the elderly to make improvements to their home to allow them to stay in their home. So such, for example, maybe if we could put in some grab bars, modify the interior of their home, maybe put in slip-resistant stair treads, maybe put in modified railings to get into the house. Maybe if we, within the budget, put in a small ramp system. Maybe not, but we, possibly could do that. But things which would allow them to stay in their home as an outright grant. And DHC is favorable to that and is looking to want to continue that program, even make it simpler for us to manage. I mentioned barrier removal. In order to do a barrier removal program for accessibility, you have to have an ADA self-evaluation and transition plan in place. The state will fund that plan through CDBG funds. Once that plan is in place, then you can apply for actually construction improvements to then address those barrier removal projects. Now, there's two things on that. One, the state is also saying, DHD is also alluding to that if municipalities don't have an ADA self-evaluation plan in place, then they may not allow municipalities to apply for this type of funding in the future. And they're actually making municipalities go and contact Mass Office of Disability and work, even applying for these and not getting funded, to work out a strategy over the next 5 years to actually implement ADA self-eval plan. But thank goodness the MOD also has a grant program to apply to have these plans created. So you get two options there. And I don't know if you're how familiar with that requirement. That dates back to 1991, which required all municipalities in the country to have an ADA self-eval transition plan to address barrier removal in their public buildings. So now both the feds and the state are kind of coming down a little bit harder and saying, you guys need to put these plans in place, and we're looking at discretionary funding being withheld if you don't have those implemented. So again, the CDBG program allows you to apply for the funding to have that plan created. So again, in your case, ADA plan, housing rehab, maybe aging in place program for elderlies. I'm not sure what other things might qualify for you, but those are, from my knowledge of Granby, those things you would most definitely be eligible for.
Because looking at it from what you said, on the last census for 2017, just for your knowledge, the median income in Granby is $73,000. Our senior population takes up 24.4%. It's 60 and over as of the 2017 census. So without surveying the seniors that we have, I wouldn't know if they needed something in their house, of course.
Right.
But we have a high population of seniors. And I imagine the next census with the baby boomers is going to show us even higher than 24.4. We do have wells and septic problems in town.
Yep. What we typically do is We'll do wind chill surveys of the community, of the households, so you can get a feel of what, you know, the need is, you can pretty much tell. And wind chill is just that, you're looking at from the exterior, but usually that's a good indicator of what the inside is like. So if you've got a roof that definitely you can see that it's, you know, well beyond its lifespan, you can tell by the outside, either the shingles or the siding or the lack of paint on the exterior, the type of windows. You can start to determine that if the outside is not maintained, the inside, so you've got to get a general rule of thumb what you might have there and a good number of house that might need to be assisted.
The other thing I had a question, I don't know if it'll fit in or not. Are you aware of the blight we're having with the trees, of all the dead trees around the utility blinds?
I'm not, no.
Yeah, our municipality, and I can tell you other ones for Belchertown, Hamden, Wilbraham, and so on. We have excess amount of trees, particularly oak trees, that got hit by the gypsy moths 2 years in a row. And Mr. Martin can correct me if I'm wrong, but Dave's last figures was at 140. Oh, what is your numbers on the?
140, we've only surveyed about half the town.
Half the town, and they're all, those 140 are over utility lines. They're just not anywhere, they're over utility lines. Would that fit into anything? Nothing?
No.
Okay, I've no harm in asking.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
can I ask you a question?
sure.
What about, we have a property in foreclosure that was acquired through tax title that needs to be demolished. We do have an appropriation currently, but is that something we could apply to rent for a stoplight?
If you could, if you have, I said you have site control?
Yes, we own the property.
You own the property now, and has the building, well, there's gonna be, let me get back to the appropriation. The building inspector and the Board of Health has condemned the property?
I can have that arranged.
The other, you said you already have the town appropriation?
We have an
Okay.
appropriation, we haven't spent it yet.
Okay, so you cannot supplant funds that are already in place. So you already have that appropriated, committed. Same thing if you had a position you were funding and then you said, well, I want to cut back, like say Chris is, you know, I don't know if you work 35 hours a week. We want to cut Chris down to 70.5 of town funds and now pay him 70.5 in block grant funds. You can't do that because you've already committed, obligated to pay him. So if you've already made the appropriation, no, that would not fly.
Can we rescind it?
I didn't hear anything, but
Jay,
Yeah,
got a quick question, ask a question?
sure.
Would the demolition of West Street School qualify as a spotlight? We have an old school in town.
I play with the schools. It's the brick one going as you head towards south on the right-hand side. It may, it depends. So you'd have to do a condition survey, and if it met the condition survey, I haven't been by there in a while. I admit probably within the past couple of years.
It's in terrible condition. The windows are terrible, like, it's just, so many things are wrong with the building.
Yeah.
It can't be used as it is, you know, have to be significant renovations done if they could even do that.
I'm gonna say it may, but that'd be something I would pose as a question to DHCD. And they may say, well, based on what you explained, yeah, it's eligible, but doesn't seem it's that competitive. But that would be something that I'd say maybe, but that would be something that to check with DHCD on what their sentiment on that is. The other question, I mean, that would be a big, well, if you go for the full 1.35, that would be a big money hog, because I'm assuming you got asbestos in there, you got other things,
Yep.
maybe underground storage tanks, you've got stuff, so that would be a big money hog. You'd have to have all the assessment done of that beforehand, because you'd want to isolate, get your asbestos out of there, get your other stuff before you actually do the rest of the demo, because it's to save on cost. But yeah, yes, possibly.
If I remember correctly, when we had the West Street School Committee worked on that, I think it was $900,000 just to get rid of the hazardous waste.
No, I think that was to take it down.
That was to take it down?
Including removal of hazardous.
Including the removal of the hazardous waste?
Yeah, it's pretty hefty.
Yeah.
But we wouldn't be able to pay for the removal of an underground oil tank because we do have $114,000 sitting in an appropriation for that. So that wouldn't be able to be included.
2 articles for the special town meeting.
Just trying to see what fits in.
I think the last time we applied, Jim, we also, I think we joined on with another lead community. I think it was South Hadley was the lead community, I think, or was it Belchertown?
It was Belchtown. Yeah, Belchtown. Yeah, South Hadley actually was funded this past year, and they're going to apply for monies again. So the whole program is, we did a couple, that was maybe 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, I think.
I want to say it was about four to
it that?
five,
Okay.
because we had that issue with the gentleman on Amherst Street. He was just outside our area for housing rehab.
Okay. So many changes since then. So the application, although it's still a pain and it's very onerous, but it's much more simplified than it was back then. And back then, we were marrying communities together as joint applications because you get additional bonus points. That doesn't exist anymore. There's no more bonus points. There's no more target area. Remember, we had to have a target area. There's no more, because we had around the corner. There's no more target area. It's town-wide. So really, it makes more sense for communities, unless we have the Southern Hill towns, we get all these small towns and a bunch of them, 4 or 5 together. And we do individual, and we do a regional for the Ware River Valley area. It really makes more sense for towns just to go on their own. They can get more money for themselves, and the rules are simplified, so you can, again, in a place like here, especially with, we talk about wells and septics, that's a town-wide issue. So if we had to limit it just to the Route 202 corridor, that didn't make, but we had to do that for the grant design, but it doesn't make sense. So.
Well, the state does contaminate a lot of Route 202 with salt. That is one of our major problems with them.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a limited salt area, but it never turns out to be.
On the water side, you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Would we be able to apply for, say, like a sewer main project, to be able to install a sewer main along a section of town to eliminate the need for septics?
So, the issue with that, you'd have to do a survey of the beneficiaries of those where that was going to happen. So, it has to look at actually not just the areas, so I'm going to do a crude drawing here. So let's say to run a line down whatever, let's say that's 202, whatever.
Yep.
But you got to look at all the potential beneficiaries off that area they're going to, if the line were to go through. So it's not just maybe you've got your residents here, of maybe it's, I don't know, 100 people. You're looking at maybe expanding out, so it could be 500 or 600 people. Mm-hmm. And this whole survey population has to be 51% low mod income. And, I doubt that you would get that number.
What about the postage stamp houses?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Run it up to our village center,
Yeah.
to get it just up to about where the police station is.
Yeah.
And what we do is we have side streets that are on postage stamp lots.
Yeah.
So basically, if they're gonna continue with it, if they replace the septic system, it has to be a raised system. And we do have a lot of elderly along those areas of
Yes.
town.
Yeah. Where's the line right now? What is
The
it?
line goes right to Finn's Hill,
Finn's
the
Hill.
elderly complex.
And if you went up,
Okay, yeah.
and if you went up to the village center, you could probably pick up Crescent Street on the side and pick up that big septic, that 45 house.
I don't want to say that at this point in time, because if we
Okay.
include that, chances are you'll get about, you won't have the 51%.
Okay, but you know what I'm thinking of.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
So, and looking at that, what would have to happen would be, we'd have to get from your clerk, whomever, the property addresses. We'd have to send out a survey, income survey. And we need, depending on the size of the survey area, we need about 85–90% return, which is often difficult to get. It depends how big the area is that you're looking at. So if that were a project, most likely it would be a design project first, just for the engineering, because you don't know what kind of obstacles you're going to run into.
Right.
And then in the subsequent application, apply for because then you're going to know what the actual construction costs are going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if that was something pursued, that would have to be a survey. It would go out to your residents and then, to see what kind of response you get.
So how would it impact, you said like moderate income, which was, I think it said 43, 44,000.
49.
Yeah, about 40, yeah, just under $50,000 for a household of one. So there's different, actually, there's very low, there's low, and
So,
there's
for
moderate.
example, you had a household of two,
Mhm.
and they made $50,000.
Yep, they'd qualify.
They qualify. So if they need like a new roof or something like that, would that be under that?
Yep, yep, Family 2 is 56A, so yeah, so typically, top things we look at, might be upgrading electrical, putting in, maybe it could be new service, maybe there's only a 60 amp service, upgrading to 100 maybe, GFCIs in the bathroom, kitchen, could be some plumbing upgrades, depends if there are in the kitchen, maybe there are, maybe some linoleum or something, it's all broken, cracked, so it's a food issue with violation. Putting new linoleum. Bathroom could have been grab bars, maybe if the toilet is leaking, or the sink is just all, the cap base is all rotted, replace the base cabinet, replace the toilet, put in grab bars. The roof is leaking, put in a roofing. If the house was pending, we also have to do a historic compliance. So let's say it's not a historic house and it's the paint is all chipping and it's painted every 3 or 4 years and there's water, in the basement causing it to come out and bleed out. We could side the house. Let's say the windows are 50 years old and not energy efficient. Put in new windows. Heating system, old heating system, not efficient. Putting in heating system. Those are all types of things that could be done. Putting in, and again, the same old wooden door that's rotting. New stairs, rotting, replace those.
How does that come about? How would they be able to do that?
So the process starts, first thing is an income qualification process, which I've got a person who does, that's all she does, income qualification. We send out, let me back up a step. We develop a list of potential individuals, clients. That be either through develop a waiting list, send something out, people just submit, put them on a lottery, whatever makes sense to do. So we have that list of potential clients. They get income qualified. Those who are qualified, then we send out our housing rehab specialist, and he goes ahead. I have 2 of them. Go out with the property, do initial inspection, come up with a list of these are things that they've identified, give it to the owner. Do you agree? There's things we missed. Okay. That's settled upon, they do a set of final detail specs. Then that gets put out to bid for contractors, and we oversee the construction, working with the owners with the selected contractor, and that's off a bid list. And there's a real set of, we have certain forms for payments, pay recs, and all that kind of stuff, and all that. There's contracts between the town and the owner, and then contracts between the contractor and the owner, and that's pretty much how it goes forward.
That's good.
It is.
Process.
I read something on, was it 149 Pleasant Street? When the chief and the building inspector went out and condemned the house or something like that?
149.
East Street. Was that
Pleasant?
I did. I'm just thinking back. It was East Street.
149 East.
In my reading.
It's in
Yeah, it was in my reading.
No, I'm just trying to think. It was,
And they gave the people so long to get one of those pod things to remove their stuff because the roof was
I
coming
know
down.
the building inspector was going out. I don't know the specifics of it, but I do know the fire chief and the building inspector went out in that area.
Yeah, I did read something about that.
And I think but that's privately owned. And I think what it was is, part of it was to clean up the site.
Now, that's your,
That's the,
Housing authority.
that's a 667 project.
okay, because we did that, we did that a few years ago. That was with the Belchtown one. Improvements, we expanded the driveway and expanded parking on site, and that was, I think, that was a $50,000 project. So those are also eligible too. They're a little more complicated because you're working with 2 different divisions of DHCD, but.
How long do we have to let you know which way we would want to go with this, Jim?
This is October. You would think about it. Really, the sooner the better, because with the survey, because that's one thing you say, we'd like to look at this. Well, then if you want to get a survey response and a good return, it takes longer. So if you wait until December, now it's like due in March 6th, well, that's really not enough time to do an extensive survey. Wind chill surveys, you want to get those done before we get snow on the roofs, so you can actually see the condition of the roofs. Sooner the better. Yeah.
All right, well, you gave us some food for thought.
Okay,
Okay.
so.
Anybody got any more questions for Jim? Well, thank you very much, Jim.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, great, no problem.
And I'll see you on Thursday.
We'll see. I don't really go to the commission meetings, but because our new director just started today, I think I'm gonna go for the next couple of them.
I'll be there.
Who'd you select?
What's that?
Who'd you select?
Kimberly Robinson.
From Arizona?
No, Nevada.
Nevada.
Reno, Nevada.
Yeah.
She worked for an RPA out there for, I don't know how many years off the top of my head, maybe 4 or 5 or 6. Prior to that was in Detroit, worked there for 8 or 9 years. So she got about, probably 15, 20 years experience.
Okay.
So she started today, and,
We're all gonna miss Tim.
Yep.
yeah, a long time.
Yeah, he was.
Long time.
He was.
And just off the cuff here, we have 2 contracts, one for Emily and one for Jill we sent down there, and nobody seems to be able to find them.
One was for an MVP and one was for Green
Green
Community.
Community.
But that's okay, we're just sending them again.
Okay.
Oh, you gonna send it again? Okay.
We're just sending them again,
What was the effective date of the contracts?
July 1.
So that's a little bit of a problem because she can't sign them because she wasn't directed it. So worst case, I'd have to sign it because I've had to do that we've had the interim and then my executive board then authorizes my signature because Tim is no longer there. Can't sign it. Kim wasn't there, can't sign it, and I've done,
Do you want, all right, well, we sent it out waiting for Tim's signature. Should we send one out looking for your signature instead
I
then?
could just change it, but can you send them to me?
Sure.
Yeah, right now?
Yep, right
You have
there.
them? Okay. I'll take them. Wasn't there a solar one too, or am I thinking, I'm thinking Blanford.
Yeah,
Solar.
You didn't have-
well,
you didn't
we
have
got a
solar,
meta
no.
grant for solar. That's the one that went out for quote that nobody put on, that we have to put out again.
Okay,
Different
no.
way.
No, we just had one, I had to do some changes with the solar one, that was for Blanford though.
Yeah, no, the MVP was for the water main project.
Okay,
Yep.
And then I guess you're recommending we do another one for tree removal project.
okay.
Yeah.
And the other one was to do the Green Community Annual Report and put in an application for the next round of funding.
Yeah, because I mean, I have to review all the contracts before they get signed, so I don't remember seeing those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why they were asking me about them today, because when I was down there last week, they said they hadn't seen them yet. I checked with Kathy, and she says she mailed them out.
Okay.
And we don't know where
Apologize
they
for
are.
that, but because that's, I'll grab them and then, I'll look at my changing, so, okay.
Okay,
All right.
Yeah.
all right, thanks.
Thanks, Jim.
Good, excellent, thank you. Okay, yeah, nice meeting you.
Yep.
Take care.
Well, I already met you, I know you, but nice meeting you.
Yeah, I'll see you on Thursday. Okay, citizens' participation, because that's the last of the agenda appointments. That was 174 East Street on the building inspector's report.
Like I said, I do remember
Yeah.
2 of them going out.
Yeah. But I think the more we can get, if we could do the postage stamp or something, then one would be better. The more we can get. You know, what the people, if it's applicable, but something we can throw around. Okay. Mr. Shalou, citizens' participation.
Joe Shalou, 140 School Street. As I had mentioned last select board meeting, the citizens petition requesting an update on the cease and desist order status. Still has not been any notification that none of the group that I'm aware of has received. So I figured I'd come back once again.
Well, the
I
meeting.
had given Mr. Joyce,
Yep.
in between meetings, a copy of the select board policy,
Yep.
pointing out where it says that, timely response is required for these types of issues, and still haven't heard anything, so.
Well, Mr. Martin is setting up a meeting between the special counsel, the building inspector, and I said I wanted to be included too. The building inspector has been out on leave. So there's no appointment been made,
Okay.
to be honest. But that's just the way it is. And when he's on leave, he's on leave. You know what I mean? We can't go into in-depth what he's doing, what's wrong with him or whatever.
Yeah.
So as soon as Mr. Martin gets an appointment set up, I'll be there with Mr. Briggs and Mr. Martin.
Okay, yeah, because we really would like to see what the, we don't want the interpretation, and I know at the last meeting, it was mentioned that we should file new complaints if we have concerns about what they're doing.
If you do see something that they are not doing in accordance with the cease and desist, then no matter where in town it is, the individual should file a complaint.
Well, and I understand that, but given the pushback that we received on prior complaints of what's viewed as being covered by the cease and desist, it's a waste of my time to put in what I view as a complaint of the complaint violating the cease and desist that the building inspector is going to say he doesn't view it that way. And that's what we need. We need to know what is covered. And I don't see how that could jeopardize the legal position for them to be clear in what they view as being covered by the cease and desist in that violation. They're going to have to do that with the judge. They did it before the ZBA when they had the appeal to your decision back in 2017. So this is nothing new. I'm just asking for clarification from the building inspector, because he wasn't here then, of what his view of that cease and desist is. And the other thing, I was watching the Conservation Commission meeting last week on the video that came out Thursday night, and I haven't got a copy of it yet, but I understand that the gun club has filed a new forest cutting plan. I'm not sure if you're aware of that. I'm not sure if you made the attorney aware of that, so that he may want to get the judge looking at what they're doing, because the Conservation Commission said that their 10 days had passed because they filed the cutting plan the date of their last meeting, and since they didn't meet for 2 weeks, they had 10 days to respond with any input to that cutting plan. That 10 days had passed, so they just marked it as received. Okay, so that's all the Conservation Commission can do to comment about any cutting into wetlands, crossing wetlands, any of the other stuff that they might
In
be
other words,
doing.
their time ran out for commenting or something?
Yeah, 10 days. So they filed it, I think it was on the 10th of September, and since they didn't meet until beginning of October here, they actually filed it on the date of the last Conservation Committee meeting, so they didn't get it before their nightly meeting.
Right, because they have to have it in so many days before the meeting.
Well, and they have 10 days to comment on it once it's received by the town, once it's filed by the town clerk, I believe. And I went to Kathy Reagan's office on Friday, but she was out, and I was babysitting my granddaughter today, and I didn't get a chance to get down during business hours. But I'll look to see what that forest cutting plan has, and if they're going to be clear cutting areas as opposed to selective cutting, that might indicate that they're planning another shooting range, because they made a 500-yard range in 2018 without permits while the cease and desist order was in place. And I brought that to the select board's attention, and nothing was done about that last year either. So that tells me that the building inspector didn't view that as being a violation of the cease and desist to continue cutting new firing lanes. So,
Well, if I saw trees going out there on a truck, I think I'd write a complaint, but that would be me.
well, no, if the forestry cutting plan's approved, that they're doing what they're allowed to do. I mean, if that comes under I guess from what the Conservation Commission said, I think it's DRC or somebody that actually has that. They have the right to comment on it if they have concerns about the forestry, but they had to do it within 10 days, and that had already passed, so they just marked it as received.
Well, say, my question is, what are they cutting and for what reason?
But
the
that's
reason.
why I'm thinking that maybe that now that there's a land court judge and there's actions regarding that property out there, that your town's attorney may be made aware of that and bring it to the land court judge so that he can ask those questions.
And that can be followed up on again, too.
Yeah.
People have the right to cut down trees if they wish to cut
And
down
if-
trees,
if
so.
they- As long as it's not as part of additional expansion.
Again,
That's-
you said something
I
that needs
don't
to be
know,
proved.
and I haven't seen the forest cutting plan, but, like I said, they have demonstrated in 2018 that they clear cut a new firing lane 500 yards long that they could shoot from the lower area at.
So, as Mr. Joyce said, I know Mr. Martin and the special town council and the building inspector, code enforcement officer, and Mr. Joyce are going to have that meeting. And that's going to be a priority. Unfortunately, it can't happen until the code enforcement officer returns, but when that does happen, it will be made a priority for that meeting.
I know it's his interpretation, it's his job to do that interpretation. I just want to know what that is. And I think we have the right to know that.
I think we all have the right to know that.
Yes. So, and he said that what he said on video he didn't say on video, so now
Well-
I can't even rely on that, so I just need something in writing so I can give it to all
Well,
the
as soon
neighbors.
as we get the meeting,
Thank
we'll
you,
get it.
and like I said, will I get notice of the results of that, or do I need to come back and ask again later? I mean, I prefer something in writing, which is, I think, the preferred select board policy is that we receive something in
I
writing.
don't see why we can't, once we understand it, then I don't see why we can't put it in
Because I'd
writing.
want to share that with the rest of the group that signed that petition. So I represent them here when I come in, so,
Understood.
right.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I actually can stay close to 3 minutes, I think.
I wasn't even keeping track.
Take care.
Okay, citizen participation, we're going to the department reports. There's nobody else here for citizen participation, only got one notice, so that was it. Okay. Mr. Martin, do you want to do department reports, or you want to do something else?
Has everybody read the department reports?
I know I have.
So,
All right, well, then
Make a motion.
I will make a motion to accept the departmental reports.
I'll second Jen's motion.
Any more discussion concerning the department reports? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 3 ayes, pass unanimously for department reports, and we'll move on into the warrants, if Mr. Martin wants to do them next.
warrant number 18 is a payroll warrant in the amount of, excuse me, the amount of $412,262.55. Warrant number 19 is a maintenance warrant that is paying the insurances and the deductions out to the various people, and also paying for our curbside collection for the month of August. And that's in the amount of about $480,000. That was 19. Number 20 is our regular bill paying warrant in the amount of $286,838.99. That's that one. Warrant number 21 is a payroll warrant in the amount of $420,133.52. And then we have warrant number 22. The total amount of it is $1,179,942. However, about $1 million of that is in moving money back and forth between various accounts as a result of the annual town meeting votes. We had voted to move $900,000 out of general fund to the stabilization funds to use up our free cash. We're moving 120 from a stabilization fund to general fund, 46 from capital, so on and so forth. So that's the majority of that, but it's basically a maintenance warrant again for the payroll that was issued that same week.
All right, well, I will make the motion to approve the maintenance warrants for fiscal year 20, number 18, 19, 20, 21, and 22.
I'll second Jen's motion.
Any more discussion on maintenance warrants 18 through 22? Hearing nothing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
3 ayes, so it's all passed unanimously.
Sorry, Jay.
Okay, no big deal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ready for the next one?
Yep.
We do have a special town meeting warrant that needs to be signed by the select board. This is a special town meeting that is being held on Monday, October 28th at 7 p.m. It consists of 11 proposed articles. Article 1 is to amend the bylaws of the town of Granby, Volume 3, Chapter 21, zoning bylaws, Section 5, special use regulations and performance standards, Section 5.99, large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations by amending subsection 5.99.1, purpose by renumbering, adding special permit granting and site plan review authority, and adding new subsection C, term of permit, and D, outside consultant, review as detailed in the planning board's report to town meeting, October 4th, 2019, or take any other action regard thereto. Article 2, again, is to amend the zoning bylaws, special use regulations and performance standards, section 5.99, large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations by amending subsection 5.99.3, general siting standards by removing inapplicable zoning district for consistency, adding distance requirement standards, and adding language to reference another section in bylaw as detailed in Planning Board's report to town meeting October 4th, 2019. Article 3, again to amend the zoning bylaws of the town of Granby, Section 5, special use regulations and performance standards, Section 5.99, large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations by amending subsection 5.99.11, monitoring and maintenance by adding subsection B, inspections as detailed in Planning Board's report to town meeting October 4, 2019. Article 4 is also to amend the zoning bylaws, Section 5, special use regulations and performance standards, Section 5.99, large-scale ground-mounted solar photovoltaic installations for housekeeping and consistency purposes by deleting inapplicable references to subsections, repetitive language, revising typographical errors, and subsection references as detailed in Planning Board report to town meeting dated October 4th, 2019. Any questions, any of those? Those are all submitted by the Planning Board. A hearing, the proposed hearing for the bylaw changes was held September 23rd. And I believe that the Planning Board met and finalized your report. I think it was, what, last Thursday?
Thursday.
So they've met all the requirements necessary for moving forward with those 4 articles. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to authorize the Select Board to continue the water line construction project from South Hadley down Route 202 to Amherst Street and Pleasant Street to Morgan Street, or take any other action in regard thereto. That is a result of the changes that have been forthcoming as we've gone forward and issues that South Hadley Water District 1 has been mentioning as part of this project.
Is there going to be someone presenting on that information, what the changes are?
Yeah, Dave is here. If want to get up to the latest and greatest, what the changes they've come in. If you
More or less, will they be presenting at the town meeting, is my question.
Well, the question is do you want me to write a blurb for each one of these as I've done in the past? And those would outline the changes that have been occurring.
Yeah, write a blurb for each one, and then
Plus, the board's gonna have to make a decision who's gonna present what.
Who's gonna present that?
So, okay.
Like I say, I can present that one as well. But Dave is the civil engineer, so as far as specific on the engineering, he's better qualified to answer that than I would be. I can answer you on the money and the stuff like that.
Why don't we approve them first, to get them to the town meeting, then we can decide who's gonna do what.
That's fine.
That's a good thought.
Well, you asked the question, so I just put it out there.
Article 6 is to see if the town will vote to authorize and appropriate, borrow, transfer from available funds the sum of $6,300 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding pavement repairs at the new library or take any action in regard thereto. That, the funding source is going to be, we have money set aside, or unspent money for a paving operation here. We've been getting cracks and other issues with the pavement up at the new library in the parking lot and stuff. And in talking with Dave, the main reason for that is it's built on ledge. And therefore, when the ledge is moving, it's causing the cracks and the various issues that we're having there. And we did get a quote of $6,300 from a paving company to come in and do some saw cutting to take care of the cracks, some of the other issues that we've been having. And also, I believe it was to, what is it, Dave? Crack seal, do crack sealing on some of the cracks, so. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to authorize and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds the sum of $100,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding tree removal along public ways or take any other action in regard thereto. In speaking with Dave and with National Grid not addressing a lot of the dead trees along our public ways. Amherst Street, you drive Amherst Street, you see them on Amherst Street. You see them on, there's a few of our other major roads that these trees, if they come down during a storm, would threaten the power lines and disruption of service to our residents. While $100,000 is nowhere near enough, I'd like to try and at least start doing chipping away at the trees until such time as we can, no pun intended, Clay, to address the issue until such time as we can eliminate to the best of our ability the threat to the power lines and services to our residents. This I'm proposing to come out of the General Purpose Stabilization Fund.
And as Mr. Martin stated when Jim Basic was here, we're also looking at trying to possibly recoup some money or get some additional money for the trees through the MVP program.
Definitely need to look at taking action.
Right, before the people's power goes out.
At least to show everybody, show the residents that we do recognize we do have an issue and we are trying to address it within the financial constraints of the town.
Address a little at a time, so it doesn't have to address a lot at one time.
Right, so, well, unless we have a natural disaster, and then we can apply for CDBG funds and
Yeah,
get reimbursed according to, yeah, I know.
except they don't call the gypsy moths a natural disaster.
Let's hope that's not our answer.
I just knocked on wood for us all.
Article 8, to see if the town will vote to authorize and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds the sum of $50,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding the purchase and installation of EV chargers for municipal buildings or take any other action in regard thereto. The $50,000 is to install, number one, we want to install EV chargers at the police station. However, when we were looking at the availability of open slots on the electric panel,
Circuit breakers.
we had one. We had one available. So it's going to cost us $17,000 to put on another sub-panel so we can install the EV chargers up there.
So each one takes its own circuit breaker.
So that's about a $17,000 cost. The EV chargers themselves are about another $11,000. However, as part of that, we can then submit the bills to the Department of Energy Resources to get reimbursed under a grant that we've already applied for. That money then, we would then want to take and put EV chargers up at the new library to make that availability for people who want, patrons who want to go to the library. And I believe those would also be available for reimbursement
That's correct.
with the Department of Energy Resources. So basically, this is basically getting money to pre-fund the purchase for reimbursement at 60% from the,
60% at the safety complex, 80% at the public library.
okay, so this is what we're trying to do.
You gotta pay it before the reimbursement to get back.
But why such a difference in reimbursement?
Because the one at the safety complex is a workplace grant that's under Mass DEP, and they pay 60% of the equipment cost. The ones going into the new library would be, like Chris said, Mass DOER, and that's an 80% reimbursement because that's the Volkswagen money they're distributing out.
Okay.
That's what the two are. Ones will have RFID cards, so only town employees and town vehicles can use it.
Can use them.
The ones at the new library will be
For
like the ones at
everybody.
the school that you use a Visa or MasterCharge.
Gotcha.
Okay. So,
No American Express.
nope, nope, they charge. Visa or MasterCharge, we don't have to worry.
Article 9, to see if the town will vote to authorize and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds the sum of $75,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding consultant services for the dredging of Dufresne Park or take any other action in regard thereto. As part of, we had contacted Senator Lesser's office to see if they could assist us with the dredging of the pond. And prior to us being able to do so, they recommended we do a in-depth engineering study to see exactly what it will entail. When the Parks Oversight Committee contacted a couple of engineering firms for a full in-depth study and for them to prepare the permits for the operation to occur, we got a price of about $75,000. Not cheap.
It's not cheap, but again, we need to start taking action on things because it's not gonna get better.
Not gonna
Right.
go away.
Right,
But that's why,
Yeah.
you know, it's a worthwhile investment, and
right, and there's potential that we will get backing from the senator's office.
for the actual
Assistance.
dredging operation, hopefully. So,
Right.
It goes back to the old same thing, you gotta justify the request for the grant or the request for the bond. If you don't have the engineering justification, you're not getting it.
Article 10, to see if the town will vote to authorize and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds the sum of $50,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding Dufresne Park repairs or take any other action in regard thereto. And with the hiring of Jeremy Carrier as our maintenance supervisor, and him meeting with members of the Parks Oversight Committee, when we go through and look at Dufresne Park, we have to do repairs in the kitchen to the hood unit, the Ansel system. We have some trees that need to be taken down. There's like 4 or 5 of them that are leaning at a 45-degree angle over the pond area, and we have a few other dead ones through the prop. Those need to be removed. They're a public safety issue. We have some repair work that needs to be done at the gazebo. We are looking at doing some potential work at the pavilion itself. It may entail doing something with the bathrooms and things of that nature. We have a large list, but we'd like to start chipping away at the list. We did a good job, or Jeremy's done a good job getting the grounds looking nice. Now we need to start addressing some of the buildings.
When you don't have people looking at things, you don't find it. When you have people looking at things, you find the issues.
Yes, so, you know, granted, this looks like a large amount of money, but when you start looking at the various things that have been neglected over the years, we just want to start making the park look good again. So,
And the Park and Rec Committee We haven't had one since, what, 2015 or
Parks and Rec,
2010 or something like that?
yeah, probably beyond that a little bit, even farther.
Yeah, so it's been a long period of time since they've been not taken care of properly.
So, then the last article, number 11, is to see if the town will vote to authorize and appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds the sum of $7,000 or a greater or lesser amount for the purpose of funding the purchase of a sander for the Public Buildings Department or take any other action in regard thereto. We now have 2 vehicles for building maintenance. We'd like to put a sander on both units so that we don't have one person who has to do the sanding operations over the course of the whole
Makes sense.
winter, that they'll be able to take and assign weekends so they can maybe get a weekend off here or there instead of constantly being on call on every weekend.
I think it'd also be a good backup for the highway department in case they lost a truck. What else having 2 others in
The size of these sander units aren't,
not compared to the...
not compared to the
okay.
ones they carry on the highway trucks, yeah.
Oh, okay. I just thought, you know, the more versatility you have, the better we are.
But it also makes it, if you have 2, then during the course of a storm during the day, you'll have 2 vehicles out who can be taking care of the parking lots instead of having to rely on David, or
Yeah.
you have to come in and help do sanding operations, so. That's the warrant as it stands.
All right. I will make a motion to approve the warrant for the special town meeting.
I'll second the motion.
Any more discussion on this warrant for the special town meeting on the 28th of October? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. I didn't hear you.
2 copies.
Aye.
Aye, okay. It's unanimous on the ayes.
And there are
Sorry,
2
my voice
copies
is so-
for signature by the board.
I'm just not listening, or?
No, my voice is going.
Oh, at least it's not gone yet. There you go. How many postage stamp houses you think are up there in North Street, Center Street, and all those?
We could probably get that from the Board of Health.
Right, but I don't know if you had a ballpark number from your experience here.
I'm gonna say every house on North Street is.
Yeah. Then Porter Street,
Porter Street.
Center Street, till you get down farther, at least up the
And
front.
probably Common.
Yeah, Common Street definitely is.
How far out are you going? Because then you would probably have Lynn Drive, Jacqueline.
Well, we're looking at, basically, if you go up 202 to the police station, basically you can take West Street off of there, Aldrich, or Porter, North Street, okay? And then you can get, if you go up there, you can get Common, you can get Center, going the opposite way, okay? So, I just don't want to get too ambitious,
Right.
okay?
But if we could get the sewer moved from Finn's Hill up to that portion,
Right.
because I don't know if you know, Jen, we have a regional sewer. Okay. And we're using less than 10% of our allotment.
I didn't know we were using that little.
And my thing is if you go to almost to the police station or where the old Aldrich Hall is, I think you mainly still have a downgrade for gravity feed of the waste. I think that's about right. Because I think that's about where the highest area would be.
I think the old library is about the highest area.
But I'm just saying,
Right, in that area.
in the area, I think you're close to where you would then have to put a pump station in, but,
Yeah, the safety complex would probably need a pump.
yeah, because then you're over the hump there,
Yeah.
because you start going down the opposite way. Yeah. But for me, it's a way to get it up to 02. Maybe start addressing that, and then maybe give us the availability at some point to connect the community septic system to the actual sewer main that's going to the shared, to eliminate the cost of having to maintain the community septic, but allowing it just to go right straight to the,
And that's the one on Crescent Street, right?
that's the one on Crescent Street.
45 houses off of that one, huh?
There's 45 users on that.
45 users,
Yeah.
okay.
And at that point, by doing that, then, we'll maybe be able to get to 1 or 2 sewer user rates instead of having 3 at this point in time. So,
And then we're getting closer to the schools all the time.
I'm not saying that one way or the other. So, your next item is common victor's license. We have one for 5 Corner Cuts, 77 West State Street, expiring December 31st of 2019.
This is because it's a new owner.
Right,
Yeah, she just retired.
yeah, we saw the party.
We weren't invited.
Everybody was invited.
I wasn't in town. All right, I will make a motion to approve the common victualer's license for 5 Corner Cuts LLC, 77 West State Street, Granby, Mass.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion on the victor's license for 5 Cuts? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 3 ayes, so that's unanimous. Yep. Oh, and I'm looking ahead.
Okay. Do we have the warrants sitting somewhere?
We gave you the warrants back.
No, right here.
Oh,
Nice try.
thought I gave it back.
Thank
That's
you.
what I get for thinking, right?
Next item is a draft host community agreement. We have a company that wants to come in and build a processing facility, growth and processing facility. The proposed location is the Mullen Farm property on New Ludlow Road. As part of the process, in order for them to apply to the Cannabis Control Commission to receive approval for the facility, we'd have to have a host community agreement signed between them and the town. I had drafted a proposed agreement. I've already run it by town council. He has vetted it. And basically, the question is, does the board want to go forward with this facility and this host community agreement?
Did I have to go through the planning board first?
No, doesn't say that. Host community is under cannabis control. It doesn't have, has nothing to do with a siting or any of that stuff.
Okay.
It has to do that, this is, in order for you to come to town, this is what we want you to do. This is a contract with this company. You need to do this in order to be able to operate within the town.
So
of
by us
Granby.
signing this host agreement, if the person so desired, they could come to town and go before the planning board to do it.
They would still have to go through a site plan approval
Right, and the
process.
special permit.
And they would still,
MGM did, they gave everybody a host.
Yeah.
Town agreement, money.
We didn't get none.
it's a bribe. Well, we weren't close enough. We weren't close enough, but I think if we pushed it, we probably could have, if we really wanted to.
Well, it's too late now, right?
Yeah, because we could say people are coming up 202 to go to Springfield through us, through our
I mean,
community.
everybody drives through
where I
Granby,
go.
so. Nobody stops, but everybody drives through.
But I'm just saying, a lot of communities did push it that far, to just say, well, they use Route 5 or Route 9 or whatever to get to Springfield,
You're absolutely
So-
right. You did.
So I don't know if the board had a chance to review it. If you have no problem, the question is who would you like to sign on behalf of the town
The only question I
host
had was,
community
is
agreement.
that agreement similar to other communities, or is that something you drafted on your own?
No, I went to the CCC website for draft there.
I saw
I
that.
had Northampton's, I had North Brookfield's, I
Okay.
had Montague's, I had, what was the other one? There was one other one I had, I can't remember. And then I believe the attorney went out and found a couple more when he was
So
reviewing.
safe to say you did your homework.
Yeah, there was quite a few out there that we went out and located,
Because
yes.
what I had received was the guidance from the Cannabis Control.
Because town council advised me to forward that to the board for their reading pleasure.
Oh,
And,
I didn't fall asleep.
but like I said, we did go out, I had 4, and I think he found a couple more that he was
So the
referencing, so.
similar ones were vetted with this hospital.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay.
yeah. So do you wish for me to sign on behalf of the board, or do you wish to authorize the chairman to sign on behalf of the board?
That's up to the other 2 select board members. It
Well, it's
doesn't
up to you
matter.
too, Jay, too.
I'm easy to get along with. I mean, what can I say? I mean,
I'd recommend that you sign it, Chris, just because you're much more familiar with it. You helped draft it, you helped put it together, and the questions are going to come to you.
Okay, no, that's fine.
okay, I have no problem with that either.
I'm going to agree with Glenn on that one.
So you want to use that as a directive, or you want a motion?
You can make it a directive.
Okay, directive's done. You got it.
So directed.
Okay. So that takes care of new business. Old business. At the last meeting, what's the matter, Jay?
Oh, the other stuff is all correspondence, which we haven't done yet.
No.
That's right, okay.
Okay. At the last board meeting, the board asked me to put a counter proposal to Waste Management regarding the acceptance of their proposal for the 5-year extension of the curbside collection project. They did agree to giving us 2 additional 30 cubic yard open top roll-off containers, increasing it to 6 from 4 currently in our current contract. And they agreed to contribute $4,000 per year towards the cost of household hazardous waste. So they did agree to the request of the board to go forward.
And they agreed rather
They
quick.
didn't even try to negotiate it.
Maybe we should have asked for
Did they?
8 containers then.
Well, I know, but I think what it is they are,
They like us.
how do I say it? Eager to make sure Granby stays with them, because that was a sore point with them when we went to Allied.
Right.
So we should have
And-
asked for more.
We could have, but I didn't want to be greedy.
And we don't know. They could have came back and said no.
And
If
they
we asked for
could've.
more, we don't
Yep.
know that, so.
But
How many containers did you fill with bulky waste day? 2?
probably 2,
3.
3?
3,
It was 3?
so.
Okay.
But I'm just saying is, it's,
Yeah.
Well,
If we need more containers, then we just got to get more containers. If we
so it costs us $100 a container
Right,
if we have to go over to the 6.
Right, but we did get more than was originally
I
just.
think we got what we had asked for. We were okay with the financial piece of it, because it seemed to be fair. And I know there's been some outcry from other towns that it's getting to be expensive, so.
That isn't the part that's expensive, it's
The
the
tipping,
tipping fee.
yeah.
The tonnage.
And that's actually on Thursday. There's a meeting of towns in Western Mass to go over, because that contract's up June 30th of 2024, tipping fees. And we're all gonna get together and see what we can do about that.
I have a question.
Yep.
West Street is still listed. Do we still have containers at West Street?
We need to close that down. All I have to do is tell him to stop collecting there, because they took the rolling carts, the recycling carts, the little carts that they have, and they brought them up to East Meadow School. And I just need to get from them where exactly the carts went, and to eliminate West Street School from the collection process.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, it's not a
I-
huge charge, but if
I
they're
am,
still
I am
charging
working,
us-
I am working with Waste Management on that and trying to get a feel for what the school wants, because I think they want to eliminate one of the pickups at the high school, or they want to combine the high school and East Meadow into one pickup or something or other. I just,
I was just curious because West
Yes.
Street was still on there.
yeah. And all I have to do is tell Mr. Boyer that we no longer want pickup at West Street School effective such and such a date, and he has no issue with doing that. I've already been talking to him about that one
Okay.
also.
Perfect, thank you.
And again, if the board is willing to accept this, who does the board wish to sign on behalf of the town, the chairman or myself?
I'm,
Yeah,
I mean,
okay with you signing
you've been
it.
signing
It's
up-
okay with the board as a whole signing it too, so, I mean,
But-
saying that we all agreed with it, but,
I'm just saying, if the board, it's just one of those things that I always ask the board.
yeah,
So,
well, I think we're all good with what's
Chris.
here.
Yeah.
So
I'm fine. Chris
I'm
signing
okay
it.
with Chris signing it.
Okay, we'll just make it a directive to Chris to sign it, that's all.
thank you.
Less work for you, Jay.
My hand gets worn out from signing.
I'll get you a stamp.
Can't use this.
Do you want to talk about what you saw in the newspaper or not?
I sent it to you, and I think I sent it to you too as well, in South Hadley on their pickups. They
Yeah,
could
I
go.
saw that there's
I
a
think I
paper.
emailed it
Yeah.
out to everybody.
I did see in the newspaper,
Yeah.
I saw it online.
Yeah,
talking about it, I had interviewed their town manager
yeah.
about it.
And you can,
Mrs. Sullivan.
you can see that they get pickup once every 2 weeks. But one of the,
Recycling every 2 weeks too.
but one of the things that was interesting when they do their charging, they allow people to get abatements if they go out on their own and get their own private carrier. I'm just saying that's from the article and stuff.
They do collect, recycle every other week, which we were before,
Right.
but that was part of our new contract that we wanted every single week.
Right.
That's-
Yes.
so.
Right.
And that was a decision of the board at that point,
Yeah.
You're right.
to go to
I remember,
weekly collections.
And like I said, they only get their trash picked up once every 2 weeks. We get ours picked up every week. So. But anyways, that was just information that came in. I just forwarded to everybody. Okay, it goes to Chris.
So now we're at
We go to
correspondence.
correspondence.
Well, before you hit correspondence, I just would like
Okay.
to make a statement to the board. Last week, I was visited by some angry parents as a result of statements made at the school committee meeting about moving grade 6 to the high school. I was told, because I haven't looked at the minutes yet, or watched the meeting minutes, that there were statements made by Mr. Latoy and the superintendent that we built a building that was too small, and that the school building committee did not build what they were directed to do. I was on that building committee, and I have a problem with some of those statements. Number one, in December of 2015, when we submitted the original schematic design for the new building, we had, based on projections made by the superintendent of schools, building the building to house 430 students plus 20 pre-K students, for a total of 450 students to be housed in that building. I don't think we're at 450 students at this point in time.
414 when I went to one of their.
Okay. The other issue I have is that a statement was told to me, that a statement was made that said the school building committee voted not to have a pre-K school, a pre-K classroom in there. That is 100% false. And I want whoever made that statement to show me where that vote was taken. When we submitted the 90% construction document paperwork, we still had one pre-K classroom in there. While MSBA pays for the construction of a pre-K classroom, they do not pay for the furnishing of it. Okay, but the school building committee did bring forth and put forth a pre-K through 6 facility. So when the school is sitting there and blaming the school building committee, it is 100% false. And I have an issue with that. If they turn around and chose to reprogram the classrooms than what was submitted to MSBA, That is not the school building committee's fault. That is the school committee's fault, as far as I'm concerned. I just have to make that statement to this board.
And that's, I understand that, Chris, and I know our former chair, Mr. Bale, was on that committee as well. So, you know, if the school is designed and it's being used the way it's supposed to be designed, that's one thing. And if they're not using the way it was designed, then that's another thing, so.
But I just have a problem when parents go to a school committee meeting and the school building committee is blamed that we did not build what was voted back at that February meeting. I have a problem with that.
Did you actually see it?
Has that meeting been posted yet?
I don't know.
Yeah. So,
School committee?
It's
The last, yeah.
24th? Yes, it's on YouTube now.
Okay, I haven't seen it. I'll
Okay.
have to
I'll
watch
definitely take
it.
a look at it, because that is a concern.
I know they have a meeting tomorrow.
Yes, they do.
But that's also, and the concern being is that's a town employee that's making a statement really that it could be, I don't know, it could be untrue or is untrue about what the town did, which is not correct. It's not right to do that.
But I'm just saying, I'm being told what, from secondhand from
No, I know.
parents who came and visited me, wanting to see the paperwork the documents that were addressed with the school building committee. So, I'm just letting the board know that
Okay.
there may be some areas of disagreement
Yeah,
between.
there's been some concerns, I guess would be the right word.
Differences of opinion, or differences of fact,
Yeah.
for lack of a better word.
Well, fact is fact. It doesn't change.
There's just differences in recollection of the facts. Let's call it that way then, okay?
All of the school building committee meetings were on GCAM as well, correct?
Yep. They
So there
were
is a-
there they were there at every meeting taping, and if they didn't, I set the camera up and gave the disc to GCAM for posting.
Yeah, for the building committee, yeah. But just for anybody's interest, I don't know if anybody else went to that forum they had. I did go to one of them, and I asked the question if any of them were taped, and I was told the answer was no, none of them were taped.
That none of the school building committee meetings? were-
No, those, the ones that we just recently.
Oh, the focus group ones?
Oh, the
focus
focus groups.
Yeah, none of them were taped.
I doubted they would have
Yeah.
been.
I'm just,
They don't need to be.
just,
It was just a focus group. It doesn't really.
what concerned me mostly about that was, to me, that's a town issue. Then how come only the parents of the students were notified about the focus group? Why wasn't the whole town notified?
I want to say.
The town was not notified.
Well, if you drive down 202, the town was notified. It was on the school's ban. It was on the school's board.
But that's not a
It had
public
both.
announcement.
Well,
You can
From-
consider it, but, you know, a lot of people say, well, I don't drive in that part of town. You know, we get that all the time.
people also say, I didn't know there was a
Jennifer, you know.
town meeting because nothing was posted, but we
No.
post it where we're supposed to. It's just because it's not a person's
Town
travel.
meetings go in the newspaper and everything else, so.
And I understand that. If we could figure out a way to do a less expensive townwide all-call service, that would be
Right.
fabulous.
We gotta get better at putting.
We have reverse
information out there.
911, people just have to sign up for it.
Right.
Yep.
And they can sign up for either just emergency calls only, they can sign up for just non-emergency calls only, or they can sign up for both.
Right, well, we have a system in place.
We don't use it, I
But if
guess,
we're
is
not
the.
using it, so it's.
Oh, we use it whenever people ask to have something posted on. Jay's done it many a times,
And-
believe me.
And I agree with that. What I'm saying is that
Yeah,
we need to make sure that.
but I can't
People
force,
know there
I
is something
can't
there for them
force
to
people
use.
to sign up for it, that's the problem.
But they may not know that it's there for them to use. So consider this
Well,
your
it's-
PSA
well,
for
it's
the
listed-
night.
It's listed on our website, but I won't go any farther, and I know the police station has it on their Facebook and
You
other
can
places.
kick me under the table, but our
No.
website is hard to navigate.
I don't think it's that hard to navigate.
Well, I hate it.
Well,
That's your
as soon
opinion.
as we get
You're
some
entitled to
more
your opinion.
administrative
Entitled to
staff.
everyone.
But you know what, though?
You're entitled to your opinion.
Reality is, there's one fact. We have a nice new school. That is a fact,
That people want to come to.
right? So
I like that fact.
The other thing is we gotta figure them out and make it work. So.
Yep. Growing pains.
Well, we're talking about communication. On Thursday, the 24th of October, remember how we had the public forum in here when we did the water main?
You had it.
Yeah,
The
I
board
did.
The board didn't, you had
Yeah,
it.
I did it. and the Economic Development Committee.
Okay. I didn't come, but
We're going to
yes.
do it again on the 28th,
24th.
24th.
Of
yeah,
October?
Yeah, 24th of October, Thursday, we're going to do it in here to answer anybody questions so we can get through the special town meeting faster because you only allowed so many, minutes to talk. So if people have questions about the special town meeting and they want to try and get some answers, we'll be in here on the Thursday, the 24th of October.
What time?
You use that reverse I-101 I hear about.
Well, I will use it. Chris will tell you that I use that, and I also call the school and have to put it on that sign
Challenge
too.
accepted.
No, I do use it.
What time is that at, Jay?
Haven't picked a time. I had to talk to the Economic Development Committee. It's going to be 6 or 7 yet.
Sorry.
Well, the thing is, I want to make it with the entire committee. I just don't want to make the decision myself. That's why I want to get their input.
Okay.
Where did the 24th come from? The committee?
Yep.
Oh, I
Because
thought
it was a
just
Thursday,
him.
because we wanted to use the new library. And that's Thursday night, they're open late. And it came because the Energy Committee has finished their last meeting the week before, and the Economic Development Committee finished their meeting 2 days before it. That's where the 24th came, and it was just prior to the 28th. That's how that came about. But I don't have a time, I don't know, 6 or 7, I will get that.
So time is to be determined.
Yeah. Soon as, and I will get an email out or something to everybody to find out on that.
Thank you.
What we're doing, one other thing, Chris, remember, we ever going to do any paper shredding? Is that in the future, or is that,
Yeah, it's in the future.
yeah, but it's nothing that's, yeah, okay. So the only thing that leaves us before we go to executive session is our correspondence.
Yep.
On the correspondence, there was a letter about solar. Oh, boy, I don't even gotta look it up there, I got a hard copy right here. My question is, did the planning board ever get a copy of that? Because it was addressed to the select board, that was my main question.
Yes, we did.
You-
Yep,
you-
that was brought up and read at the
Okay.
public hearing.
Okay, now, since it was addressed to us, should we reply to the citizens and say that it has been forwarded to the planning board? I mean, for somebody to write the select board a letter, I would think they would want to reply.
I agree, it deserves a reply, if
Right.
only to say it's not in our,
Right, we forwarded it to the planning board.
Right, that's fine.
That's okay.
That's fine.
Can we
That's-
take that, Kathy? Okay. Okay. Let me cross that off my list. Cross that one off the list. And the emergency action plan for Forest Ponds is still a draft. We discussed that earlier. It's off my list. Cannabis, cross that off my list. We did that. Titan bond. One thing I wanted to mention, I'm not sure if I sent it out to the other select board members or not. The next MVP action grant applications are due 2 PM, 14 November. What we're looking at possibly doing is the water main. You can do it for as many projects as you want, but you can't exceed $2 million. So some towns have got a lot of projects, some towns have one. What we're looking at possibly doing is maybe 1.5 million for the water project, and maybe 0.5 for the trees, or adjust the numbers accordingly, you know what I'm saying? But we got $2 million. If there's any other things anybody can think of for that, will fit in that grant application. I mean, MVP does cover a lot with climate change, from stormwater to culverts to bridges, you name it. We can pick out what we're going to do with it. It's just that right now, if you guys have any input, what you want in that grant besides the ones I'm talking about, let me know.
could the issues that are on the Aldrich Street Bridge, the Amherst Street Bridge going over Aldrich Lake, could those be?
What are those issues?
They're not major yet, but
See, one thing we're going to have, whatever you
have you
have.
seen the report?
Oh, yeah, I read that report.
Yeah, because they're not major, but if you take care of them sooner rather than later, we can, not you, but us.
Well, why don't we make that just one of our lesser priorities? Because what we got to finish, we got to come up with the estimated cost, and we got to come up with the justification before they can be submitted.
Right.
Okay, we can use that for justification, but we'd have to get an estimated cost.
Okay, I didn't know if they could be put in, I didn't know if they were eligible for that type of funding.
If you can trace it back to climate change, the answer was yes.
Okay.
If you can't trace it back to climate change, then the answer, if it's normal wear and tear, it won't fly. But if it's because it's eroding because of the rising storm water or something like that,
Right.
that
Okay.
would fly.
It could be eroding because of the uprising of acidity levels of the water due to the acid rain.
But
all the pollution.
all we gotta have is the justification in writing. That's it. And how much are we gonna pay to get that justification, you know what I'm saying? Because see, without the justification, they won't even consider it.
Okay.
And we do have studies for the water main, and we do have studies for the trees. So that's
And
why
I agree that those are
high priority.
high priority.
Yeah, because I don't want to see anybody without electricity, if it's all possible. But
Generator.
I have two.
We're all going to Jay's house in case of a power outage. He's got 2.
Okay, did that on the Titan bond, special town meeting. And that's all I have from reading all the correspondence. I don't know if you have anything that you want to mention from the correspondence or not.
No?
Glenn?
Was there a letter or something sent to the school committee?
Yes. Yes.
Did you see it?
I did see it.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, because I have a copy of it.
Yep.
I have a
Well,
problem
my
with
question is,
paper.
how did it get sent to the school committee before coming to the board?
Because
We
we
had
approved.
requested him to do it quite a while ago. When we were talking about,
4 meetings ago, maybe?
yeah, when we did the appointments that night.
Was it that long ago?
Yeah, it was a while ago. Because we didn't pick anybody.
Right.
This came up at a board meeting?
Yeah.
I didn't remember it either, to be
Yeah, it
honest
came
with
up
you.
Yeah,
at-
it did.
it did
Jay
come up-
reminded me and I sent
yeah.
it.
It did come up at a board meeting, but we never picked
Because we
anybody.
were talking about the Education Reform Act and how there was the collective bargaining
Yes.
happening, and they were required to
And-
have.
And we were talking about getting copies of their contracts to match them against the copies of our collective bargaining agreement
Right.
contract, so the COLA will be the same, but even work conditions are negotiated differently for different things. Yeah, we did have that discussion, Glenn.
I don't remember it.
Yeah, you were here, because you mentioned.
I didn't say I
that-
wasn't here, I still remember having
Oh,
that conversation to it, that's all.
okay.
Oh, wait.
Yeah,
Yeah, you were here.
he was here.
If you want, I can go in my paperwork and look when it was. If you're really that
No, I mean,
curious.
it's fine.
Okay.
I just don't remember it, I don't remember
Yep.
that part happening.
Okay.
Since we're talking about that, does anybody want to be the select board representative for collective bargaining over there? I think you probably won't be eligible, right?
Why?
Because you do work over there, so that wouldn't let you, make you not eligible?
I'm not employed by the school.
But does the school employ your company?
Yes. Oh, no, I cannot be, but no, I'm not employed by the school.
When's the last time we had someone on that?
That I don't.
Pat Stevens? I would say back when Pat Stevens, so a good 10 years ago.
I mean, I guess is there a need for it?
The issue is, it's not a need, but if it's a requirement from the Ed Reform Act of 1993.
Right.
And it's to give the town the opportunity to control or to have a say in COLAs or contract negotiations, so that it's something that's given to all employees of the town, and that you don't have one group getting a better contract than what other employees are getting.
So the person that's selected from this board would be a voting,
They'd be
Yes.
a
Only
voting-
for contract negotiations.
Voting member, yeah.
Yes, during negotiations, yes.
all right. When is the negotiation starting?
I don't
They
know.
just finished.
They just finished?
I want to.
I just saw it on their agenda item that they went to executive session when I was watching one of their school committee meetings for collective bargaining agreement.
Yeah, I
And then
want
I
to say that
saw
they're
the
very
next one come out
close.
says they still have it ongoing on their agenda items.
You know, I've heard that they haven't really signed the teacher's contract. I think that's still under,
The paras, I think, they've signed.
I think, yeah, but I don't think the actual teachers got,
I do not know that.
Well, I think we should find out at this point where they are in negotiations before we kind of,
Well, it won't even, it may not, you're right, it may not affect us
Right.
this round.
I was at the new library with Dan Carey and Mindy Dunn for their office hours. And there was the president of the school union, Robin.
Mrs. Lamorter?
Okay, I didn't know who it was. She came in and she mentioned that they had not finished the current school collective bargaining agreement. And as soon as they finish it, they were gonna start the next one because the next one was overdue. Didn't make no sense to me, but that's what she said. Because I guess the first one took so long to do.
it's possible.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, that's what she said it.
That's how,
I'm just passing
sometimes
on
how
what she said.
agreements and
I'll ask her
contracts go.
Yeah.
It's entirely possible.
Okay, so if you want, I'll call Mike Simpson and ask him the status of it and then get back to both of you and Chris. Okay,
as long as you do it in public session, not through just an email. 'Cause
Why don't you call him? Was that?
I don't know his number.
I don't know his number either to begin with, but I just figured if I'm the chairman, I'll go to the other chairman and ask him, that's all. That's why I picked him.
Yeah, but then if it's a discussion, that's his board. He can't represent his board.
But he can tell me if there's collective bargaining going on or not, that's all I'm asking. I'm not asking-
You can do that, but don't come back and do it by email to your
Right.
board members.
No,
Come back and report an actually posted meeting.
right,
Right.
yeah. I can go out and get the information, but I can't release it until it's in public.
Correct. Correct. That's all I'm
That's
saying. Well, a lot of times when you do that, everybody just think, oh, I'll just let everybody know by email. Well, we really can't. Just, I'm just saying,
I know, we can't.
just a cautionary
I know,
note.
We can't break the open meeting law.
Yes, a cautionary note.
Because a lot of stuff I send out is for information only, and I don't expect a reply.
A cautionary note.
Which is sometimes difficult, so.
Mhm.
My thought is anything that's being sent out should just be brought up at this board during an open meeting. We can discuss it openly and freely here.
But if there's something in documents, I like to send them out to everybody ahead of time so they have a chance to review them.
Again, I think I just think it should be, because that, when it comes to, violations and things like that, I think we should just bring it up here. If nothing says, if it's not something, we don't have to act on anything. It's not like it's an emergency, we need to act on something, so.
Oh, I was thinking of that trash thing that I did from South Hadley. I saw that was interesting, so I sent it out to everybody.
Right.
So you can read it ahead of
But I
time.
think some things, emails shouldn't be sent out because they should just be brought, information like that should just be brought to the board when we meet.
The information is brought to the board, but sometimes if you get a read ahead of a document,
I understand what you're saying, Jay, but the point I'm making, I think the less emails that are sent, the better off the board is. I don't like opening the emails. I don't know what's in them sometimes. And I don't want us to have any issues or any problems. I think it just, I think if we're a board, if everything just comes up here as information, it gives us time to discuss it as a board. We can look at information, just pass it out to each other. I think that's fine too.
yeah, but sometimes you just can't sit here and just read it and then make a decision without more research. That's all I'm saying.
But again, I don't think a lot of our decisions need to be made right away. And if that's,
Right, the
If it's
information
that-
can be
right,
disseminated
right,
and then
if it's
taken
that-
home to research.
if it's that important, then we can take the time out of the meeting to review and read it and, discuss it.
Yeah, it's like the grants that I know that are due on
Well, those,
24 November. We don't have a choice, that's our cutoff date, 14 November. So those are things I consider time sensitive.
And if things are too time sensitive, we can always call a meeting
Okay,
if need be.
I'll just find out where they are in their statuses
Yeah.
and report back the next select board meeting. That's fine with me, if that's what you want me to do, I don't have a problem.
I just think it's helpful for the board, that's all. I don't, you know,
Contact Mike. Collective bargaining status. Okay,
I mean, that's
fine.
my opinion. I'm just, so.
I'm a person that reads everything before I get here.
No, I understand that, but again, it's a little, we're a board that's open to the public, so that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm open, I just happen, I do my homework before I get here, that's all I'm saying. I
No,
don't like to read here when Alex is
Jay, I
taking.
understand that. I'm not debating that all with you. I'm just saying we're an open board, so sometimes I think it's beneficial or it should just be information just be brought to the board at our meetings and then disseminated out. That's all I'm saying.
I think that finishes that everything, doesn't it? We're ready to go into
Except for
executive session.
executive.
And we're going to go into executive session in accordance with Massachusetts General Law 30A21-7 to do HIPAA. And we're also going to approve and sign our 16 September executive session meeting minutes from the last time that we were in executive session. And to go into there, we have, and the only reason we're coming out of executive session is to adjourn this regular meeting. A roll call vote,
Silva, aye.
Sexton, aye?
Joyce, aye.